and I'll show you how to do it in a minute. Oh, wait, hold on. It sounds something like this. Although it's really not that clear, and like I said, because we couldn't hook up the sound properly, you might not be able to hear it. It's going to sound like a computer noise in the background.
Oh, the snack table. Right?
Now hear that. Within that, when I put on my headphones, I use a set of JBL headphones to listen to this, okay? Headphones help cut out the B2K and the noises so you could concentrate on the audio and the video more importantly, okay? So it'll help you do the sound system when you need it most. Now, in that audio, just right there, I could hear officers important. They're either reporting or they're coordinating. My name is Oliver. So one of the officers' names is Oliver that they're actually listening in and they're corresponding and watching us currently at this moment in time. So right now we have proof and evidence of a name of an officer and we have proof that they're coordinating and spying on us.
You heard that?
Let's get him.
Now I know. Now I know it's not the best way, and you probably can't hear that clearly. It's because I did not clear it up yet. Sometimes in clearing it up, it takes about
Oliver
half an hour.
Twist.
Even 30 seconds worth takes me 3 hours sometimes to do. It does take a lot of time, but that's because I'm working on each TI differently. We're all on different signals. We're all on different frequencies. We're all on different channels. So in order for me to pinpoint those down, it takes a little bit of time. But once you have that information set, it will become a lot faster for you guys to do it yourself. And this is a way that we unite the people and correlate together all our information in our gang stalking as well. We could prove pictures with each other. We could start building cases with each other, collaborating evidence. Because once we have a statistical report of everything that we're going through, we could bring it into the courts. We could bring it up into the Senate. We'll have actual statistical studies and experimentation on this, and we could prove that in court.
Yay! We should get some money.
Hey, hold on. Let me show you the steps, you guys, really quick, okay? Now, so far, I made this as simple as possible for most TIs, all right? First, we listen to the recording, which was what we did. And then we pick out a little section, like a little highlighted section here, okay? We grab the effects button. Okay. We go into the effects button. Well, actually, what I like to do is I like to compress it first, okay? So I like doing a heavy compressor, and then I just apply it. So it sounds a little bit different. It's compressing the noises and everything together so you could grab it all as a whole. All right? Now what I do is I go to the effects button, the cleanup button, noise reduction, and then I grab a sample of the noise. What we are doing is we're grabbing the spectrum,
So I listen to it later.
the frequency channels that they're on, the wavelengths, the signals. So we're grabbing it.
How she buy
And then what we do is we go into the same section, the effects button, cleanup button. I like to do a low pass filter. That's my own personal choice because any other filter I've noticed cuts out the B2K. So anything else, I like doing the guitar one, the cleanup button, and it's at 5,000 frequency hertz here, and I apply it. So after that, it's still in the effects button, the cleanup button, the noise reduction, and we do a spectral subtraction. But once you hear the noise difference in it, and I'll show you guys, I know I don't have a lot of time for the workshop, but I'm willing to go over one by one and you could hear it yourself with the headphones on in a more quiet or secluded place so you could hear it properly, okay? And then you amplify. You probably amplify 3 to 4 times depending on your headphones to make it more clear. Now that will give you a basic sounding of the V2K, the communication systems underneath. Now it gets a little bit more advanced with that. We use equalizer. I use a 20-band parametric system, but that helps break the sentences down. Let me show you. That's our little TI here. So when they're raving the signals and they're communicating with us, that's our little perp. You can see he's kind of ugly right there. So, all right. So when they're beaming these signals at us, when we're holding any recording device, that recording device is able to pick up these signals. So whether it's your cell phone, your iPad, video camera, GoPro, it could be a household security camera in their system as well, and also any recording device that you could possibly think of, okay? So they're directing these signals, we're able to pick up these signals. It's basic physics. It doesn't have to be $10,000 technology. It's basic physics. You can't stop physics. When they're directing these signals at us, and they're using different wavelengths, okay? They compile multiple frequencies on top of different frequencies, like 3 or 4. So you got their communication systems, the V2K, and maybe a repetitor somewhere in between. So the equalizer, what this does is it pulls out one of those lines, and we're able to hear that specific line in communication system. Some are harassed more than others, so they have a lot more wavelengths to go through. Some are more simple, where they only have one. If anybody, this also works on tapped phones. So if you have somebody listening in on your phone conversations, and you're being hacked from your cell phone to your computer, you're able to capture their communications underneath that phone call. You could pull them out. You could learn how to. Sorry.
So how we do this?
I lot to go through in like 15 minutes.
I'm glad she learned
but
this.
It proves that somebody is listening on, which is highly illegal. That's against our civil rights. That's against our First Amendment rights without a warrant. And the only people who could have a warrant on U.S. citizens are the FBI and local law enforcement. That's it. So anybody else, if we want to file a case with law enforcement, we prove somebody is on our phone. Now, when they were telling me that the only way a police officer will look into that is if somebody has committed fraud against you. So if they take money out of your bank account. So you have to check your reports, your credit score, things like that, to see if they're destroying you in that aspect, in that way. But only if you commit fraud will they look into it. If they commit fraud.
They do everything to us. Pack up pets.
Exactly. So we have to prove that through a credit reporting system. So there's a lot of things in the law before we have to actually go against the law. But if we get the proper information and prove that these people who are listening on to you are either your next door neighbors, your
family members,
co-workers, or if they're the government after you, we could prove the harassment, because they'll make statements like shoot her. Like me, I get the non-lethal weapons. So I could hear them make comments saying beam her in the ribs. That's proof of our torture right there. They're hitting me. I give a response. They're hitting me in the ribs. I'm playing the audio. They're hitting me in the ribs. And they hear direct hit. I'm sorry. That's just collaboration to me. That's proving that they are torturing us as individuals. And we should not have to go through that. If we did something wrong, they need to prove that in a case in court. Huh? It proves death threats. A lot of things you'll hear on the audio. You'll hear statements like, if you have kids, we love kids. Attack the little boy. You'll hear statements like I was on with my phone interview. I was doing a phone interview for a job, and you could hear them trying to manipulate me into answering the questions in a certain manner. So they do get bonuses from that. I do have audio proving they do get bonuses for, so that is the verification.
For making you do what
I
they want.
have audio of them
I knew it.
causing state of paralysis in people.
That's what I
have
said.
audio of them selling images for
Yeah.
law enforcement agencies
Yeah. Let's sell
and
your
sex
body.
trafficking.
Yeah.
I have audio, and this is just not mine. I've analyzed over 60 TIs so far, and I know that's not a lot, how big we are. I think we have a statistical report over 1,000 people in just America alone so far.
I want her
Over
to do me.
150 here in California, right? And that's why we're all gathered here today, to prove all this stuff. Anybody? Sorry, I know I don't have a lot of time, but I'm willing to answer any questions. Go with you one-on-one if you want to.
Yeah. She could do mine.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hold the microphone so we can all hear the question? It's not ready to leave town in 2020. Somebody was taking cars and using gas. I can see the moderation down
I want her to listen to mine. Who the hell bothering me? That's bonus. Go to hell. Here's my phone.
Now, the way that we prove something like that is we would actually have to strip the audio and listen down to it. There is communication. I've heard audios of them breaking into people's homes. I've heard them breaking into people's vehicles, putting tracking devices in there. When you're driving to and from work, you could hear where they're stopping, what their location is. On my audio, since I was a balloon artist, I traveled around to different restaurants making balloon animals for all the kids and their families and stuff like that. I stopped at a gas station. You could hear them talking to the FBI agent and to the law enforcement officer. We're on 6th Street. His reply is, the office goes, I don't want to do this. The FBI agent responds, you're doing us a favor. 6th Street is 2 blocks away. I mapped it out from the gas station where I bought some food. I have a copy of the receipt. I have the audio to prove that they're verifying in their location. So we collaborate that all together through stripping down the audio. But in my mind, that's the only way to verify that information. So the way we collaborate that is we need your help in doing the audios too. And if you guys do this techniques, I guarantee you could get names, you could get agencies, vehicle descriptions. So if you're taking a video of your stalkers that are following you around in a vehicle, they're going to go, what type of vehicle are you in? Oh, I'm in a white Tahoe. Or I'm in a brown sedan. I'm in a blue Honda. So that will verify, and if you have a copy of that, and you see the blue Honda with the license plate, that gives verification of the gang stalking. And we could prove that they're associated because they're giving the description in the audio. And that's how you prove gang stalking. But otherwise, stalking, you have to go after them as an individual person. Unless you can collaborate that they are working together. They are being paid by the same industry. Yeah. So that's the only way that we're going to be able to collaborate that. But if we got 10 TIs and still in the same area in California, and guess what? That person has a picture of a woman, and another TI has a picture of the same woman, and another picture of the same woman from a different TI, that's proving it's a gang. Does that make sense? But individually, we can't prove they're part of the gang by ourselves. It's only with us working together and collaborating that evidence together can we prove that. So, Is there any other questions?
I wonder how we do it.
I do have an identical twin sister. Yes. Yeah. She asked how can she clone me? Yeah, it's already been done. I got my own doppelganger. She lives in Georgia. Raymond?
So how do we start this stuff?
Now, would that be a form of gaslighting, too?
Would you repeat what he said, please?
Now, we would have to prove that as a scientific experiment together, but we have to have other audios to prove that same situation and scenario. Does that make sense?
A lot of people don't even know what touch was, so can you give an overview of what touch was, please?
Oh, he was talking about how he does it on his own computer and it picks up the own interface and how he could hear the voices of his own family members on that recording as well. Their thoughts, apparently their thoughts. But
Who's that?
I've not come across that yet, analyzing 60 Ti so far. But if you want to get together and have other TIs that are experiencing the same thing, we could do an experiment on that. So we would have to find people who are going through the same experience and doing the same thing to prove all this type of stuff that is going on with us individually. I have caught, he asked, what if you're only getting drones? I have caught their communication systems with the drone. They'll stay attacked with the drone because usually the non-lethal weapons are attached to the drone. That way they could fly away.
Like the lady was talking
they
about.
use that, so you could hear the audio communication attack with the drone. I've caught
That's what the lady
military
said.
personnel, military units using
Look at the
drones,
military over there.
civilians
Right there.
using drones. So that all depends, once again, what you are going through as a TI, but we
But
can prove
how
the
we
difference.
do this? Is she listening to kind of ask a question? I just don't know.
Yes. Yes.
Hello.
Absolutely. You could record anytime. A lot of times I record in the shower, and I know you're probably not comfortable with that, but it proves rape, video voyeurism, sexual assault.
That's mine.
That's a way that we could prove that they are what they are doing to us in the privacy of our own home. Federal law states that technically by law they're not even supposed to be recording in the bathroom or watching us in the bathroom or the bedroom. So we're supposed to have our own right to privacy. That's a civil rights violation.
So how we do this stuff? I don't know. Hello. Is she?
Oh.
Huh? Oh, this one now she goes about.
Oh, she said that she got a...
No, but how do we go? We got to sign up with her? I don't know.
I have not heard that.
Oh,
but I
if you
would
want
love
yours
to
done
look
individually?
that up.
So you're talking about-
However, I want to know who harassed me.
Go ahead.
Oh, so how do we work with you? Like, how do we work with you?
How do you contact me?
Yeah.
Yeah? Well, come when I'm done with the workshop, come up. I have business cards. We could sit here and talk too, and on a one-on-one person. And
Okay.
I'll take care of you. Don't worry.
All right. Thank
I
you.
got you.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
Oh, yeah.
I just want to know who bought me.
Oh yeah, this whole system is free. You could even download Audacity on your computer system for free. You could download it on your phone for free. The app that I use to record phone conversation is called All Calls Recording, ACR. Okay? You could download that and you could start recording your phone conversations. Phone conversations are going to be the most legal thing that we could use in court, by the way. Not without permission. You always ask permission. But personally, I've told all my friends and family, just to let you know you're being recorded. They're like, I don't care.
See, don't think it's not your family because they've messed you up
Most
too.
TIs will approve of it anyway, so.
screw you over. No matter who they are.
We do have people live streaming right now, all throughout. So yes, it is being live streamed. All across. We got YouTube channels, we got Facebook Live, we got, I believe, Twitter.
That's what you use.
Right? I'm not sure.
I just need
I'm
to know.
not the media
But
expert.
I'm sorry, what?
It's pretty awesome.
So far, the way to only track the signals, I'm working on that, to be honest with you. We have to do a triangulation method, honestly, because I've noticed when the only way that I have a triangulation right now is through this technology, usually only goes through 15 miles. That's their radius system. The only reason I figured that out was the transformer blew, which was right next to my apartment, and my V2K stopped. So from that, the transformer, and reading all the patents and everything that's out, I conducted my own radius system. So when we're tracing IPs and from your computer systems and your phones, we could trace it back to that location and inside the same radius. So that's the only method that I've come up with so far, is going by your transformer and getting a base radius of where they're at and located. I have not figured out a way to direct the signal yet, though.
Would you repeat how strong your other recorder is? How strong the megahertz are that it can record?
The megahertz depends on the type of targeting that you're going through, or like the frequencies. I caught frequencies all the way from -20 to -198. So it depends on, we have to figure out what you're recording and what frequency you're on. And the way I do that,
Governor Hiram W. Johnson.
okay, is through an FTT. So when I got this highlighted section right here, you could see the different types of wavelengths. So when you're pinpointing the wavelength, like you could see -88 decibels, -188 hertz. They're playing in C, D flat range. So it depends on where they're at and what they're transmitting, but you can capture the frequencies by analyzing this as well. And a lot of it, you could also go through a temporal, which usually does the notes for you, but that's more for EVPs and stuff. So.
Is that the app on your computer, or is that the unit that you bought from Best Buy?
That's the unit I bought from Best Buy, but Audacity is the same thing, and it's actually free. You could download it on your computer system, and it actually has more clearer audio. I just like WavePad for me personally because it's an easier system to use. But I do transfer my audio files to Audacity to get the analysis report. So I like Audacity better for their analysis and the frequency readings right here for the graphs than the WavePad. But I like using the WavePad because I could do it all by ear.
Here comes
just
the police
moving
people.
the buttons up and the equalizer up and down and clearing out the statement. So it's a lot easier through WavePad for me. But everybody has their own personal experience. Audacity is free. It doesn't cost a thing. You can email it to me. My email address is Amy_Holem, HOLEM, @yahoo.com. I have business cards. If you want one, come up to me and I'll hand them out to you, okay?
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope you have a blessed day. We have a lot more to come, you guys.
To go. Wait for it. Gang,
Stalking has got to go.
Gang stalking has got to go. Gang stalking has got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho.
Gang stalking has got to go. Hey, hey,
ho, ho.
gang stalking has got to go. Let them hear us. Keep it going.
Gang stalking has got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho.
Gang stalking has got to go.
I lost my speech.
Oh, that's better.
Alright, we're gonna edit that one in. My name is Matthew Arnegard, and I'm gonna speak truth to power. The uncomfortable truth is that people are being targeted with directed energy weapons and radio frequency harassment devices all throughout California and the rest of the United States.
And the
Just like
world.
the diplomats in Cuba and China were assaulted.
World.
These weapons are not only in the hands of foreign powers that want to harm the United States. An underground criminal culture has emerged, which acquires these weapons from the black market or builds them from commercial off-the-shelf hardware. People are being targeted by criminal harassment networks for the purpose of retaliation, coercion, random targeting for sadistic fun, or hate. That's right, these are hate crimes. In fact, we call these crimes electronic harassment, but we all know that's a euphemism for these crimes. The most powerful energy weapon assaults don't just cause high-pitched ringing in the ears. They cause torturous pain, burns on the body, injuries to the ears, and traumatic brain injuries. But it's not only happening in rare instances on foreign soils. It's happening here in California to a lot of people. Ella Fries and my organization, FFTI, has a crisis hotline for this issue. And that hotline is ringing off the hook with people who are experiencing this issue. Our hotline is ringing off the hook with people, with good people, who are desperate for relief from their criminal targeting. I'm here to speak truth to power. And another uncomfortable truth is that organized stalking or coordinated campaigns of multi-stalker stalking and vigilante stalking by complete strangers has become a pervasive problem all throughout the world. Organized stalking and electronic harassment are linked crimes. One crime cannot be understood and addressed without also understanding and addressing the other crime. The two crimes are linked because both crime protocols are methods for covertly terrorizing people inside our communities, right under the noses of law enforcement. We know these crimes are linked because many reporting victims receive both forms of persecution once they become targeted by one of the criminal harassment networks, which are run by wealthy individuals with malicious desires.
Microsoft.
Don't for a second think that these are lightweight crimes. These are felony violations of serious state and federal laws. But what do you think happens to the victims who report these crimes to law enforcement? They're totally dismissed. Sometimes they're mocked, or even worse. And that amounts to a total failure on the part of law enforcement. When cops deny the occurrence of serious felony offenses by organized crime groups, even though they're being reported by huge numbers of victims right here in California, that's an abject failure of law enforcement, no matter how you look at it. If police officers say they aren't aware of a new type of crime or they don't understand it, well, it's their job to know about the crimes that are happening in their jurisdictions. If police officers know about these serious felony offenses but choose to ignore them, that's even worse. That's a cowardly act on the part of law enforcement, and that is a violation of their oath of honor. These dismissals by police officers need to stop because they're preventing the collection of crime statistics. Crime statistics that could allow law enforcement to understand the scale of this problem and start homing in on the offenders. The worst part of all is that the denials and dereliction of duty on the part of law enforcement is actually sending a clear message to the perpetrators of organized stalking and electronic harassment. And that message is that these crimes will not be dealt with by law enforcement. That's the message that they are sending by their dereliction of duty. This needs to stop right now, because lack of action on the part of the peace officers that we pay to serve and protect with our tax dollars is actually fueling the growth of organized crime, serious organized crime. When the police and other publicly funded institutions turn their backs on victims reporting organized stalking and electronic harassment, it demeans the victims. It actually re-victimizes people who are already dealing with prolonged campaigns of vigilante stalking and no-touch torture with directed energy weapons. We demand that law enforcement starts treating the reporting victims with dignity, and that they start doing their jobs by officially recording the allegations of the victims and amassing crime statistics on this problem, so we as a society can start addressing this problem through the institutions that we pay for with our tax dollars. Leaders in law enforcement may feel that these 21st century crimes are too challenging to deal with because the methods and weapons used are too high-tech and they don't produce traditional forms of forensic evidence. That's actually an understandable view. This crime caught us all by surprise. But since when is ignoring a crime and pretending it's not happening a winning strategy for dealing with a new type of crime? It's not. Thousands of citizens across the United States of America. Every state in our country has laws against stalking. Organized multi-stalker stalking is a hate crime. It's a violation of U.S. Code Title 18, Section 241, Conspiracy Against Rights. As for torturous radio frequency harassment and assault and battery with energy weapons, well, anybody would agree that that's a serious felony offense. Those are serious felony offenses. In fact, they amount to a new form of terrorism inside our communities. Community terrorism that's happening in our backyards.
Front yard.
All of these crimes are already violations of state and federal laws, but it's pretty clear that existing laws are not enough to counteract these crimes, because nothing is being done to bring the offenders to justice. We welcome the honorable leaders in law enforcement who are concerned about these crimes and are ready to step up to the plate. But it seems pretty obvious that they need help. That's why we're asking the California State Legislature to pass modern legislation that both supports and compels action against these growing crimes. That's right, supports and compels. Because the police don't seem to be interested in taking action on their own unless they're compelled by updated policies. And they're supported with the necessary know-how and resources. The current Penal Code of California is not enough. The laws of the last century are not enough for these 21st century crimes. We want 21st century legislation to deal with the high-tech hate crimes and human rights abuses being faced by U.S. citizens today. We want police officers and elected officials who are willing to counteract all forms of hate crimes, all kinds of RICO Act violations, all forms of terrorism, including community terrorism in our backyards. This is everyone's problem because your siblings, your parents, your children, your friends, or you could be the next victim. It's abundantly clear that organized stalking and electronic harassment are very complicated criminal issues that pose serious challenges to society. Serious challenges. We can take on these tricky issues, but we need all hands on deck to do that. We need the enthusiastic participation of law enforcement. We need lawmakers to embrace these issues as well. We need journalists, lawyers, healthcare professionals, high-tech companies. universities, churches, mosques, temples, all manner of community groups to really get engaged with this issue. We can solve this 21st century problem, but to do that, we need everyone on board. And that can't happen as long as these crimes remain ensconced in secrecy. That's why we're here, to see to it that the public knows these atrocities are happening. We will not let fear of the criminal harassment networks and community terrorists keep us from speaking out. Directed energy weapons will not silence us. We will not stay quiet out of fear of retaliation or fear of institutional betrayal. Denials by law enforcement will not turn us away. We're going to keep speaking out until we start seeing real leadership from our elected representatives. Governor Gavin Newsom, this is your opportunity to show real leadership on this issue by finally acknowledging it. All of the esteemed senators and assembly members of California, this is your opportunity to lead the way by finally addressing this serious criminal issue, an issue that is already destroying lives, eroding human capital, and impacting the economy of the great state of California. These crimes are totally un-American. These crimes are perversions that need to stop now. It's high time for you to start getting in touch with the real criminal issues that on a daily basis are impacting the voters who put you in office. Voters that you depend on for staying in office. This is your chance to start restoring the rule of law and shining a light for the rest of the country to follow. The time is now to restore the rule of law. Say it with me. Restore the rule of law. 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 We stand with the U.S. diplomats who were harmed by directed energy weapons in Cuba and China. We have felt their pain and suffered the same harms inside the United States of America. I hope I have a chance to speak with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Hey, before I start, I'd just like to ask everyone to just grab someone's hand right next to you. Whoever it is, it don't matter who it is, just grab their hand for a couple minutes.
Put her out there.
Why?
Because some people haven't had their hands grabbed in a long time.
Why you gotta do it for?
Hold on.
Okay, you want this?
No. I'm reaching across. Oh, yeah. I'm holding my phone.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Justin, and I'm here to inform you about the modern day criminal atrocity that is taking place here in your city and all other states and countries around the world. I'm talking about the crimes faced with this so-called targeted individuals, or TIs for short. I'm not here to address the TIs because they know who they are. They're living the horror every second, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That's why these courageous individuals out here are here to tell you and warn you about the atrocities being done to innocent citizens around the world. People are being tortured and abused, and some are even being slow-killed right now, even as I speak. You should know that these people gathered here today are some of the bravest, most enduring people that you will ever meet. They are heroes.
Yes, we are.
Please,
We are.
please open your eyes and your ears and take heed. For in my opinion, this will happen to everyone unless we come together and put a stop to this crime right now. We need your help. Restore the rule of law. That's right. Why do people get targeted, you may ask yourself? People get targeted for many reasons. They become targeted for revenge, human experimentation, human trafficking, power of control, and control over other human beings. sometimes to the point of personal destruction. The victims are brought and sold like animals without their consent, solely for the sake of money and control. What is happening to the targeted victims is demonic and evil. TIs are being stripped of their rights, not only as U.S. citizens, but in a moral sense. Their existence is being wiped out by underground security organizations, which are invisible to the general public. Members of these secret harassment networks have infiltrated all kinds of organizations in order to carry out their persecution. They operate above the law, and their tentacles of criminal organizations sketch through all major agencies and vouch for each other, covering each other's backs. Once a person is targeted, by the organized stalking program, or OSP, attempts to label the target as mentally ill or threat to society or a criminal of homeland security risk is prominent. Because they don't want the American people to know about these atrocities and torture and abuse that these programs are causing.
That's why I
The
told you.
program
Pinpoint
that
your
targeted
people, 'cause
individuals
they're gonna
are
do
put
that.
into are intentionally designed to be ludicrous so that people in the general public will have a difficult time believing that this can actually be happening. First, targets are profiled. Then they are systematically slandered, psychologically abused, spiritually degraded by means of carefully crafted protocol. The goal is to steadily break down a target and discredit them until their finances are drained and they're made homeless, or they're institutionalized, or jailed, or they're pushed to the point
Of suicide.
To facilitate their no-touch torture protocol, the organized stalkers adapt technologies to fabricate videos and audio recordings that are used to slander and falsely discredit the victims as drug dealers, rapists, child molesters, or threats to homeland security, and much more. All the while, the organized stalkers hide behind the law within the institutions and have the power that have power over others' lives, such as the judicial systems and the healthcare systems. Some TIs are probably put on secret government watch lists, which 1,400 agencies have access to. In fact, there's a judge in Virginia right now trying to declare this system unconstitutional, and many other heroes are speaking out in much the same way. The private security organizations that are formed and funded with taxpayers' dollars are unjustly targeting people every day that have been protected from criminal investigations and legal scrutiny. They have operated above the law until now. Targeted individuals are followed by low-life scumbags everywhere they go. TIs are put under 24/7 surveillance. How does the target know this? Because for psychological effect, the organized stalkers tell them what they did in their house the night before, the week before, the month before, when no one should know what they were doing in the privacy of their own home. TIs also have to endure the smear campaigns, which can cause them to lose their jobs or their families, or their families to become dissolved. The whole organized stalking program is based on covert, narcissistic, psychopathic tactics. Out on the front lines are the people doing the stalking and harassing are bottom feeders and the community policing thugs. And these are the frontline stalkers that targets appear as blips on their tracking apps like WhatsApp. The target's phones and all their other information, including computers and emails, are hacked. And this is how TIs identify and location are spread throughout the underground gang stalking community. TIs have absolutely no privacy in their lives. And every piece of data that can be collected on the target is collected. There is no other way to describe this protocol as sickening. People involved in organized stalking often masquerade as law enforcement. They flash real or fake badges to individuals that the targets have contact with. Thus, in restaurants, shopping malls, doctor's offices, dentist offices, churches, and a variety of other places. They use their authority to tell people that the target is under investigation of whatever slanderous label fits the bill and the scenario. They tell the bystanders that interfering with their investigation could land them in jail. Almost all people are going to believe the agent or officer wannabe in that situation. People are manipulated in this manner, then spread the destructive rumors about the target individual in the establishment and get more people to join in the illegal surveillance and harassment of an innocent person. If people don't want to participate in the extrajudicial persecution, they are bribed or told that they will be targeted or their families will be taken part or be targeted if, they do not take part. Even more disturbing, the organized stalking programs capitalize on directed energy weapons, microwave weapons, ultrasonic weapons, laser weapons of all untraceable and hidden to the public eye. The situation is just like the notorious MK Ultra experiments of the 1970s, which were hidden at first and then admitted by the president himself, President Ford. In the same exact way, government agencies are going to discredit TIs and not admit that this program exists. In other words, the cowards are hiding behind this. Because they do not want the public to know about it and the millions of crimes that are committed daily. I also want to tell you about the high-tech weapons that is most commonly used against target.
Where are you going?
We love you.
We call it V2K,
You crying?
which stands for voice to skull. This is a weapon that can transmit audio and into a victim's head. This technology is sometimes called voice of God and is based on microwave hearing effect. There are at least 23 patents of this technology that I know of, and is the most psychologically damaging weapon that is, in my opinion, has ever been built. Private audio transmissions into a person's head can cause adults to make decisions they would normally not make. Imagine your own business. Imagine minding your own business in life, and all of a sudden you start hearing voices telling you to kill yourself, or that your spouse is cheating on you, or go commit crimes, do drugs, beat your kids, kill your boss, your spouse, your family. And you have no idea where this is coming from or who's telling you to do these horrendous things. All you know is that you're of sound mind and you have never had a mental health issues. You just want it to stop. But it won't. It won't.
Not for long.
And there's nothing you can do about it. Imagine your toddler, 6-year-old and 12-year-old, telling you that they're hearing voices, which are telling them to hate daddy. Mommy's not real. Kill your sister, or hit your brother in the head with a shovel, and you can't stop it. You can't do anything to help your child. So what do? You take yourself or your child to a psychologist and say, I'm hearing voices, or my child is hearing voices. Or you tell your friends or families that you're hearing voices. I guarantee you that 99.9% of the people are going to think that you have some kind of mental disorder, because 99.9% of the people have never heard of voice to skull. V2K, once a psychologist, or voice to skull or V2K, once a psychologist has written a diagnosis for mental illness, then the target is put in unneeded medication because there's nothing wrong with them. So they are now discredited, and this is how the Senator Destructive Technology Harassment Programs are using that same kind of technology to deliver high-pitched sounds also that cause sleep deprivation. This also keeps the targets unbalanced. The heroic targeted individuals that are out here raising public awareness at this moment are here because they are in desperate need of your help. because there is no system in place right now to help them at all. We're going to see that it changes. Help us to make that change, or you and your family will become the next victims. The needed laws are not in place, and there are too many loopholes in the existing laws which the government agencies use to justify the horrendous crimes that are being committed across the nation. The organized stalking program have purposely designed to cut off every means of help for TIs, including the help that they should be getting from law enforcement. In fact, the systems that have infiltrated law enforcement, the emergency services, hospitals, mental health cares, university, and the courts, and other systems that could contribute to destroying the targeted individual lives. I'm not saying that all these institutions are aware of the crimes or are in on the targeting, but there are definitely perpetrators in local, state, and federal agencies who facilitate these crimes and work within the criminal program. Not all police officers are corrupt and aware of the targeting program, but I guarantee if there is a targeted individual in a certain city, without a doubt, some police officers are in that city, are involved in that person's targeting.
Yes!
Thank you.
Yes! Yes!
I would like to address the skeptics, including psychologists, psychiatrists, and others, who try to deny the abuse and the torture of this lifelong program. One way that these denials are justified are saying these people have found each other on the internet and are simply adopting the same belief, shared delusion. In fact, the targeted individuals don't go on the internet for fun and attention, because there's nothing fun about this crime. Targeted individuals don't believe they're being targeted. They know they are being targeted. It is not delusional when your home gets broken into and the gas gets turned on to your stove. The gas gets turned on to your stove and your furniture is rearranged and items get stolen. And these episodes happen over and over and over again. Gaslighting. And you can document these photographs and document what they do. It's not mass hysteria when complete strangers know things that they should know about you. Even though the program is designed to make evidence hard to collect, some people have actually collected solid evidence of this covert harassment. Denials about the existence of this program are ridiculous because too many people from all over the world are independently reporting the exact organized harassment and abuse. People who knew nothing about each other, people who had no contact with each other before, people who never even heard about targeted individuals have looked up this topic on the internet and they are starting to report these crimes from all over the world. Thank you, sister. The psychiatric community and law enforcement community need to stop dismissing the claims of targeted individuals because the amount of victims being blamed for these victims are horrendous crimes. These denials make it easier for criminals to perpetrate these crimes. We need to keep raising public awareness about the organized stalking program, direct energy weapons, B2K, like we are all doing right at this very moment, so that we can prevent these crimes from harming innocent victims. TIs could really use some help from the general public. If someone tells you that they're hearing voices, or that their life is being destroyed, or that they're being followed all the time, please give that person the benefit of the doubt that they're telling the truth.
Amen.
Listen and support them, because the horrendous crimes are probably going to be done to them, which no one should have to go through. We also need to elect officials in local, state, and federal levels to get involved in stopping these crimes before they destroy the lives of more tax-paying citizens. Before I end, I would like to address the victorious individuals in front of me. One more time, thank you for your victories against this most inhumane treatment and that a person could endure. You are surviving a system designed not only to destroy you, but to torture you in the process. I love you all, and I commend you for all your great work, because you are the stronger than thousands of the adversaries placed in each city who are contributing this brutal punishment that needs to stop right now. The people who are here, who drove from all over California and flew from all over the country, did not meet on the internet to come here to show a figment of imagination or collective imagination or propose a giant conspiracy theory. They came here to raise awareness about a real 21st century crime. Let us all work together to stop this crime. And if I'd like to go over the Lord's Prayer. If you want to just go ahead and hold hands. If you don't want to participate, that's fine. Our Father, who is in heaven, hallowed be holy your name. Come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you so much, Lord.
Is that it today?
Facial recognition software, devices, internet, satellite, cell towers to torture people everywhere. Some of you may recall the Cuban and Chinese diplomats. The FBI claims that the foreign government seems like they are blaming the Russians for everything now these days. The truth of the matter is that the U.S. government are behind these attacks. And the use of this technology on the United States citizens and the people around the globe every day. The DOD, DOJ, CIA, FBI, Homeland Security, local law enforcement are all involved in surveillance without warrants, false FISA court applications, falsifying reports, falsifying documentation, falsifying records, and all the individuals who are being attacked by this very technology. They are not involved. Why do they not take our complaints seriously and file investigations? Why are not we being treated the same as the Chinese and Cuban diplomats? Let's find out if it really is the Russians. They allow us such criminal offenses such as assault, robbery, theft, video voyeurism, sexual assault, pedophilia, hacking, invasion, privacy, torture, treason, stalking, hate crimes, murder, to go on without investigation, and purposely allow these criminals, rapists, torturers, assailants to continue the abuse of this system that is supposed to protect the citizens of our country with the laws that are put in place to protect us. It's against our Constitution and our rights of freedom. They hire out companies such as Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, security companies such as Fusion Centers, Lockheed Martin, to track, monitor these individuals with this technology. A lot of these individuals are people who have committed no crimes, no criminal offenses. They will never see a day in court, be arrested, or be tried by jury members in our government. Allows this to go unmarked and unchecked and the torture to continue amongst its citizens. They will arrest these individuals and destroy their lives even further by forcing them into mental institutions for trying to even file a report of any of these offenses. This technology is here, and it has been since World War II. MK Ultra is not a conspiracy. The government really did that to their soldiers. Forced mind control experiments on our veterans and the people who have fought for this country that we live in. We know the truth. They never stopped. They just changed the name. Incorporated projects and every lobbyist that endorses Congress. They sell their patents to anyone who wants to buy them and continue the research. And as long as they have the government contract attached, they get funded by the taxpayers' expense. Now they have created 5G cell towers that are popping up around the U.S., even without the town's approval. There have been no experiments surrounding the effects on the citizens, and they are just popping up on the demand of the government, and somehow the EPA and FCC approved. These are weaponized systems for the whole United States against the American people, and you may be next to become a target. There's no doubt that radiation, microwave energy, ELF, scalar waves causes cancer, diseases, anger, hostility, depression among the American people. Cancer is the leading cause of death, and we already know how the big pharmaceutical companies and the leading lobbyists in Congress, I know that's how they get their money back, forcing us to be sick and every citizen in debt. We are nothing but human guinea pigs to them and treated like lab rats. We could prove this technology exists. There are thousands amongst thousands of articles, scientific proof, military experiments, documents verifying its existence. The American people need to open their eyes and see the truth. We need to stand up and unify against this monstrosity that the U.S. government are doing to hundreds of thousands of people around the world. We now have a way to prove they are torturing U.S. civilians with this technology. Groups are forming, nonprofits are being organized, talk shows, podcasts, and even the media is bringing it to the attention of the American citizens. Although the media is making a mockery of us and demoralizing these individuals and falsifying its existence, we have the power as a whole to show the world and prove the people this is being done to them. Ever notice now in the news that we have a mental health issue? That's just another way to cover up the torture program they are committing against the American people. We are fighting for our lives and our very survival. We are all gathered here today to try to bring awareness and to tell our fellow Americans that these individuals need help. We have gathered a mass. We need to start working together and stop fighting against ourselves and to stop this enslavement. And the only way to achieve this goal is to unify and stand together and fight. Start working together as a team. There's a technique to prove the V2K, RNM, titanitis, AI systems, programming, link systems, mind control techniques, drone attacks, military involvement, local law enforcement, FBI, criminals, rapists, murderers, video voyeurism, pedophilia, surveillance techniques, tracking techniques, stalkers, and I could go on and on. Here's some of the audio stripped from these individuals, and most of these are my own personal audios that I have on myself. I will not release any audios that is committed on other TIs. I do keep that private if you do send me an audio and video. I did file the disclaimer with you guys already, so I'm going to be able to hear them. I know they're not going to become out as nice and clear. Once again, we're doing it through the TV and the microphone. So I hope you could hear these personally. I don't know if you could hear that. Sorry, it's really hard to hear without. I'm trying to. Yeah. This is off of a phone conversation of mine. There's a cool thread in the background, the beginning and the end of the conversation. Code red is usually military terminology or law enforcement, usually any type of emergency has like code blue, code red, code yellow, so it depends on what type of harassment they go during that their codes might change. So that word, they were laughing at me while I was trying to get me to wake up. That's saying DOD ordering On the phone conversation, this is all off of the same phone conversation, except for that hot meat. They did not have a warrant. In the background of the noise, I could hear them say, does she have a warrant out for her arrest? No, they do not. They didn't like that I didn't have a warrant. They didn't have a warrant. So they were contacting the DOD and the Special Legal Division to get a warrant for her. This is one audio. Once again, this is like a different, this is off of the same phone conversation. I believe this is why I was on the phone with a lawyer.
All right.
Yeah, sorry about that. The audio is really hard to hear. This is the Pup ID system that I was talking about, and facial recognition. That's
Her name
actually
is-
a way of a tracking device that they're using on me, and that way they can locate me all the time. And then there's two different female voices here. There's the Pup ID one, and then there's the iLetter.
Oh.
So, okay. Well, sorry, you guys. I'm trying to do my best.
I heard it.
All right. This
We
is off of
believe
the
you,
same-
don't worry
They
about it.
realize that I've been recording my audio and I've been stripping the communication. Is there a way we could turn up the volume? Is that an issue? Okay, that volunteers one, they were actually talking about paying off another perp or another compensating her. So by law, we cannot go after any legal division because there's no evidence that they are paying these stalkers. But when I had the audio here that they're volunteers, and later in the audio they're saying she needs to be compensated, that's proven evidence that they are hiring out stalkers to stalk us and follow us around. So that's one way and form that we could go after the law enforcement.
That water? Oh, I have one. I'm good, thank you.
You heard that one? Okay. Sorry, a lot of closer people will be able to hear it.
No.
What's your name?
Audrey.
Audrey?
Uh,
I'm Shayla. It's nice to meet you.
oh. Didn't I meet you this morning? I think.
Probably.
Hmm.
I think we did.
Is this you?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, I thought that was her.
No, that's Amy. She's on our board, though. She's part of our nonprofit.
Oh, I thought that was her.
Yeah, that's Amy Holo.
Oh.
All right, well, this isn't working out as much as I hope so. I apologize, you guys. I wish you could hear them. Please come up to the computer and I'll play them for you individually. That way you could hear them personally. I apologize for that. I'll get back to my speech, though.
We believe you. I believe you. And I believe you. I believe you. Oh, my God. But I believe you. But this is Amy. So whose car they got there?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. What?
There is. It is a lot of layers to go through, but maybe they're only got a couple on us right now for one giant mass and gave everybody else the day off.
Oh, I thought it was
Just saying. Hey, here's the praying. Anyways, these clips were taken from the videos, phone conversations, handheld recorders, body cams, dash cameras, video recorders, and cell phone recordings from people who are being attacked and tortured. We all learn how to use this technology properly, efficiently, and start recording. We could put a huge hindrance into the government projects, research, and data. We could gather evidence and start creating lawsuits against anyone who is involved and who is participating in this torture program.
Yes.
Yep. We could prove this is being directed at us as a U.S. citizen. It's a program. The government is involved, the false reporting by local law enforcement agencies and departments. This torture program has been going on, since World War II, and I think it's time to stop it.
Yeah.
Now, it won't be over tomorrow or in a week or even a year, but if we stand up and start working together now, we can achieve and accomplish anything that we put our minds to. There are fighters and there are objectors. Only you can decide which one you will be. You will either fight to help. Maybe it's time to put a halt to their expenditures, and the audios and the videos and phone conversations can put a huge hindrance in their project, and that's a good place to start. At least in my eyes. We can achieve this at no cost to the community, and I can teach you how. I am not an expert in the field, but we do not have to be to protect ourselves and our families. Use this technology to your advantage, as we as a community can figure out their process and technology being used, which in return we can learn to counter. Because once we know the specific technology that's being used on all of us, then and only then will the courts take us seriously. Stand up and fight. Stop being afraid, because once you face your fears, you will no longer be controlled. Freedom is our right and shall never be taken away.
No, I ain't got a business card.
Okay, next is.
First of all, I'm not even going to stand up here unless I hear some noise. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, where that lady is. Amy.
Second of all, I want to let everybody know, first and foremost, I am a very, very, very proud targeted individual. Very proud. I want that to be a perfectly clear message here today. Very proud targeted individual. Second of all, I want to thank very much the organizers of this rally for having me here today. And I want everybody here to give them a round of applause. Thank you, Matthew Aaron. Thank you, Earl. Thank you, Scott Lewis. Thank you, Michelle Hatchie. Thank you, Justin Whitmore. Please give them a round of applause.
Yeah.
I also want to thank my co-host Dee from Tutainment Network TV. He has been with us. We did the promotional videos for this rally. Without him, we all wouldn't be here as well. I want to give V a round of applause as well. He's got V with us here today. He's my co-host. He's in Poland. Give him a round of applause. Today. Okay, hold on. Yeah. Okay. I have a message of hope. I have a message of hope for all of you targeted individuals today. If you never listen to another word that I have to say today, please listen to this one. Yeah, listen to this one today. Change is in the air today at the 2019 Springtime Rally in Sacramento, California. And I'm going to be the one to fire you up for change today. Please listen to everything I have to say. You are not a shackled, targeted individual. You are not bought with a price. And you are not owned by any man. Your life is your own. Take it back. Take it back. On August 28th, 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stood on a podium and he gave a speech of a lifetime. he gave the I Have a Dream speech. His dream to give equal rights to all human beings on the planet, to ensure civil rights were protected for every human being on the face of the earth. That's on the face of the earth. That dream has been robbed by individuals that feel they have the right to take those rights from certain people. No, they do not. They don't have that right. They do not have that right. These rights were protected under the Constitution of the United States. These rights cannot be violated by individual groups, by organizations, by cults, religious organizations, or anybody else, or by gang stoppers. They cannot be violated by these individuals. Take your rights back. Stop believing that you have had your life stolen, taken, or violated by these individuals that have targeted your life, and take your life back. Take these people for what they are worth and what they are. They are criminals. Nothing more and nothing less. They are committing crimes against your life on a daily basis that the normal human being would have to go to prison for life. Every time you think you are an unfortunate victim of targeting, think again. If you weren't a target, you would be one of them. Do you hear that? You would be one of them. I say never. Never would I betray myself. First and foremost. I would not betray myself. Stanton, you can remove yourself from my speech. You can remove yourself from my speech.
Let her speak.
You can remove yourself from my speech. What have you done for this community? Remove yourself from my speech. Remove yourself from my speech. What have you done for this community?
Keep quiet.
He's a perp
They
person?
are committing crimes against your
Probably.
life.
He's a perp person.
Normal human being would go to prison for life. Every time you think you are an unfortunate victim of targeting, think again. If you were a target, you would be one of them. I say never, never would I betray myself. Never would I betray my own country. Never would I betray my own people.
Oh, he
in
gave
this
me a
vile
card to
fashion.
buy it from
No,
him.
rejoice today that you are a targeted
Oh,
individual.
okay, he gave me a
And
card.
that you are not one of them. Hallelujah.
Oh, I should throw it away?
If you had to endure the torture of direct energy weapon attacks,
But he shouldn't have yelled at her like that.
home invasion, robbery, harassment, stalking, street theater, tracking, assault, electronic rape, family dissection, identity theft, character assassination, or the exploitation, you are not alone. You are not alone. There are now resources for you to reach out to, thanks to the efforts of so many. We have done so much to educate the public on the tactics used by those who target individuals, and also the source of where that harassment is coming from. And we are here to tell you we are at your back door. We are at your back door. We are ready to come after you. We are at your back door. We are
There's a
no
restroom
longer
over
willing
there.
to accept
Oh,
this
I'm
harassment. Now it is up to all of us to shut them down. We have taken enough, and we are no longer willing to take any more.